So good morning and good morning to all the participants. Uh, I'm extremely glad to host Dr. Pravin Banodkar today on this first live on our brand new platform, that is Glutone Lounge. So Glutone Lounge is basically a new initiative from Glutone to disseminate content which is science-based and evidence-based in order to help the common man, the general public, the layman, and those who are enthusiasts about different type of skincare and skincare products to take better decisions and for better skincare. Dr. Praveen, actually requires no introduction. He is the medical and cosmetic dermatologist. He's a board certified dermatologist in both uh, clinical dermatology as well as pediatric dermatology. He has got humongous experience in medical as well as aesthetic dermatology. So that makes him unique because he is doing a lot of research in both the fields, and he presents very frequently his research papers at different international as well as national platforms. He is the founder of the leading skincare institute in Mumbai, Skin Crest, and he is the chief consultant dermatologist with Saifi Hospital, Mumbai. He's also associated with uh, St. Elizabeth Hospital as well as Isasi Children's Hospital in Mumbai. So today we will be discussing with Dr. Praveen about your different tips and tricks as well as which one can use to optimize the results with the products that they are using to achieve even skin, and which mistakes that one should generally avoid, which may further deteriorate the expectation or the outcome from the treatments they are taking. But before we start, let me form a preamble. Okay, and I want to start with one shlok from Bhagavad Gita, very famous shlok. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. So, meaning, कर्म करते जाओ, फल की कामना मत करो. But doctor, every patient that visits you comes with lots of expectations, and you need to do your karma of satisfying them with the outcome, the result they require. And I'm sure, like most of the patients, they get their required outcome in the first go itself. But every individual is different, every skin is different, and you as a clinician understand skin well, skin biology, molecular biology, disease pathologies. You've got different diagnostic instruments available at the fingertips. You've got experience and expertise to handle different type of cases. So once one type of treatment fails, you know what should be your second plan of treatment. But this is not the case with the common man who may not be science oriented, who doesn't understand the chemistry well, who doesn't understand how products work mechanistically or clinically. And so sometimes they tend to buy different brands, cheaper or expensive, containing very different celebrity ingredients coming from reputed companies, but they don't work at all. I'm restricting myself to uniform skin tone or even skin tone. Sometimes they feel, oh, last time it had worked for me, now it is not working, or it is not giving me good result, or it is giving me some side effect which I didn't express last time, or sometimes it reverses the condition, and then there is dilemma what to do. So many times a product bought is never used completely. Okay, and you keep on hunting for different products every time, and this many times the search is endless. So having said that, before we begin, I want to understand: is there any formal clinical definition to this word, popular term, even skin tone? Over to you, doctor.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you firstly for giving me the opportunity to be here on this platform. I think it's a very good initiative to take forward very genuine research-based messages across to many people who are very much worried about their skin, worried about their skincare routines. They are not aware of what they are using on their skin and how it can affect them in the long run. So we are here today as experts to discuss on that. So getting straight to the point of what you asked me about, even or the uneven skin tone. Now, if you see, skin tone basically can be defined or can be looked up into two methods, two ways. So one is you look at it up as a skin color, and secondly is the skin texture. So when you're talking about an evenness on the skin, you're talking about a uniformity in your skin color and a uniformity in a skin texture. So this is the two that comprise both together, and that is what makes a uniform skin tone. Now, people are always asking us questions that what is my skin type or what is my skin tone? When they read these things from the blog or from the products, they look at it basically in a two-dimensional approach, in the sense they just look at what is mentioned in that in terms of an oily or combination type. But what we need to know here is that skin tone determines both the things, that is the color as well as the texture. So when we are talking about an uneven skin tone, if a person has an uneven skin tone, it is associated with different colorations or different discolorations that we can call. So a person might present with, a skin tone which is a bit tanned, and in that you might get some patches of normal skin or maybe even some patches of whiter skin that we call as hypopigmentation, that is less color in the skin. So overall, the texture also is sometimes dry in these individuals. So this is what we define medically, dermatologically as an uneven skin tone. So uneven skin tone refers to a discoloration of the skin and an altered, disturbed texture of the skin, which we are there to, correct. And as you rightly mentioned, people are, they are doing their work of improving the skin. But if the skin tone itself is not correct, then the consequences of the products that you're using are not correct.
Yeah. So you highlighted like one important aspect, that even skin tone or uneven skin tone is not necessarily related to hyperpigmentation. Okay, so it is maybe because of hypopigmentation, wherein the pigment in the skin, the level of pigment in the skin, it has gone down. Okay, and that creates a patchy appearance. Okay, against the normal, normally we say, it is uneven skin tone, means, in some parts, it is more darker, okay, more tanned, and this is normally associated with uneven skin tone. But clinically, sometimes it represents itself as a hypopigmentation as well. It may be related to some deficiencies many times.
Not exactly. In fact, this is a common, issue that comes to us when it comes, in beauty or aesthetic treatments, is that people are worried that they have vitamin D deficiency, because probably their family physicians have mentioned that to them, or maybe their, elders in the family have mentioned to them that they are not eating well. So they're getting deficiencies of vitamin D, vitamin B12, folic acid, ferritin or iron. What we need to know that these deficiencies normally do not determine the skin tone on a normal basis, like on a regular thing. So it is not directly related. It is basically more of a myth that deficiencies result in a change in the color of the skin. Of course, when you have medical situations or medical cases where people have maybe an inflammatory bowel disease and they have very, very severe level of deficiencies, those are the situations where you actually see pigmentary changes on other parts of the body. Now that cannot be linked to an uneven skin tone when we are talking about a daily use product, daily regular skincare regime, daily skincare routine, or a normal maintenance or beauty of the skin. So when it comes to just an uneven skin tone, it can just be due to external reasons, like the products, if they are using, are not suiting, or if they are over tanned their skin by stepping out in harsh sunlight or harsh pollution. Secondly, they are not taking care of the skin, they're neglecting the skin. So these are the common causes of an uneven skin tone. And of course, hormone changes also play a very important role, especially when it comes to females.
Okay, that takes me to the second question. So, especially hyperpigmentation, okay, will also lead to uneven skin tone, and whenever you feel that the hyperpigmentation happening in the skin, perhaps treating it with some OTC products may not be the right idea, and the person needs to see a doctor, physician, or a dermatologist as soon as possible, because it may be a clinical indication or condition which may be linked to even hormones, right? But let me ask you, which or what types of skin pigmentation issues a person, now I'm coming to hyperpigmentation, like more tan, more melanin present and spread across inconsistently. So, which type of pigmentation can be managed at home by using various DIY remedies or different OTC products? And which is the right time, or when is the right time to see a dermatologist in such cases?
That's a very important question, because this is something which we see as a dilemma in every patient. Whenever they meet us when the skin has already been damaged, or it's already complicated. They meet us after many years of rigorous damage caused by sunlight and pollution on the skin. So what one should know is that when it comes to hyperpigmentation of the skin, it can happen because of your daily routines of exposures to sunlight. If you're, riding a motorbike, moving around, if you're working out, daily on a terrace or balcony area with direct sun, or if you are probably having a job which is, moving around, which we call as, field jobs that they call. Now, such exposures of sunlight cumulatively, that means over a period of time, they tend to cause hyperpigmentation on the skin. Initially, such level of pigmentation can be easily prevented, at home itself, by a regular habit of using sunscreens, using certain caps, using clothes basically that are going to prevent your pigmentation from worsening, especially on the forearm areas, are things that a person can follow. Now, over a period of time, this particular initial tan develops into more of a medical issue, where basically the pigment from an initial temporary tan starts becoming a semi-permanent issue, or maybe even a permanent tan on their face or the body areas. This is associated with, again, dryness of the skin, because you just don't have sunlight which is working on your skin. You have ultraviolet light, infrared radiations, as well as pollutions that also tend to cause adverse effects on the skin. Now, these start bringing about adverse changes in the texture of the skin. So, for example, apart from the hyperpigmentation that we were mentioning, you start getting dryness of the skin, or maybe sensitivity of the skin. So this is ideally the point when a person feels that apart from tan, they are getting a daily odd burning sensation on the skin, or maybe their oiliness of the skin is increased multifold compared to what it was 4 to maybe 5 months, or maybe 4 to 5 years ago. That is the point when they need to come to the dermatologist. Before that, what they should be doing is use regular sunscreens, use which are going to suit their particular skin type. So that is something that they need to follow on a regular basis. And regular detanning procedures or products that they use, like vitamin C, are something which is safe, that they can keep using on a regular basis. But they will have a limited time with which they work, post which they can visit the dermatologist like me, who can help them with their further concerns.
Okay, so you mentioned about the semi-permanent and permanent tan. So semi-permanent tan, if I understand this well, is the tan which can be reversed once you remove the triggering factor, like radiation, UV radiation, exposure to sun. So those who are generally on the field job, they get exposed daily to like sun rays or sunlight for a very extended period of time, and that is happening regularly. So initially it will appear as tan, which can be reversed, once you start spending more time indoors. Okay, but over the period of time, it will make some changes in your skin, and ultimately the melanin producing cells will start producing excessively high amount of melanin, leading to hyperpigmentation, which is kind of permanent, and then it is very difficult to reverse. And this is the time when you should be visiting a dermatologist to get a solution if you want this thing to be resolved. Also, whenever you find your skin thickness is changing, your skin texture is changing, that is the time you should be again visiting to your dermatologist, because you need better health. Okay, and general sunscreen perhaps is not going to help you, because already there are some changes which are started happening in your skin, which are very difficult to reverse using simple OTC products. In case of some individual, the oiliness of the skin will also increase, and especially it may be related to combination oily skin. This
Yes.
change.
So what happens is people who have an acne tendency due to hormone changes, whenever there is a textural change in the skin, as I mentioned about more sensitivity of dryness of the skin, where skin is peeling out or so, these tend to clog the pores, and that starts off the process of acne purging onto the skin. You start getting a lot of pimples and acne on the skin, and then plus the sun damage is already there, the hyperpigmentation is already there. All this tends to cause more complications on the skin, and the skin starts basically gets into the vicious cycle. So to bring yourself out from that vicious cycle, when you're getting acne purging, when you're getting sensitivity, that is when the dermatologist plays a key role in changing the products, maybe doing some in-clinic procedures if required, or maybe investigating in terms of hormone changes that could be adding fuel to the fire. So that situation is something that we need to control.
Yeah. So whenever a patient goes to a dermatologist for with this complaint of uneven skin tone or pigmentation, the regimen that you recommend generally contains some exfoliating products, some serum, and all these things. But as a general note, what type of daily routine that you advise to patient who suffers from uneven skin tone?
Right. So for uneven skin tone, most importantly is a skincare routine of cleaning, toning, moisturizing, of course, the use of sunscreen on a regular basis. So when you have an uneven skin tone, as I mentioned earlier, there are multiple factors that need to be checked. That is the pigmentation parts of it, as well as the textural change. So when you use sensitive base cleansers which are not very harsh onto the skin, is something that I would recommend. People who have a little more on the oilier skin type can use or add a toner, after basically, using a proper cleanser onto the face. And this can be followed by a good moisturizer. If they are, applying it at night time, a moisturizer is preferred. Whereas in the morning, after, the cleansing, toning, they can directly apply even a sunscreen over and above their skin. So these are the normal routines that I would recommend for people who are in very humid areas. While in people who are in areas which are non-coastal, that is more towards the interior parts, of, for example, the interior parts of Maharashtra, like, maybe in Pune, or maybe people who are in, in Sangli area, or so on and so forth, or people who are in the inner parts, the inner states of India, for example, in Madhya Pradesh or in Delhi, or so on and so forth, which is a more dry, arid areas. In such cases, or such individuals should avoid too much of toners onto the skin. They can use directly cleansers, moisturizers maybe might be more frequent in such situations, and of course sunscreen, because the sunlight is much more intense and harsh on their skin.
Yeah. So in this, regimen, you mentioned about sunscreen, cleanser, toner, moisturizer. Okay. But, somehow you did mention about any serum, vitamin C serum, or, any reason for that?
Yeah. So what happens is, these vitamin C serums that I mentioned is basically for individuals who do tend to tan more frequently. It is very important to know that when you follow a basic skincare of cleanser, toner, moisturizer, sunscreen, it normally works well in prevention of tan. Now, when you are in a situation where you feel that your skin is tanned or you have got hyperpigmentation, that is when to detan is when you can start using a serum or because see serum or is something that basically just contains an additive bioactive product. For example, either vitamin C or maybe glutathione or maybe kojic acid or something like that. Now these particular serums which are there, which even might contain hyaluronic acid as a moisturizer, these particular products, they are more specific in their action. Okay, they may not be ideally be used by all the skin types, because for example a person who has very dry sensitive skin types, if for example if they use serums containing vitamin C or ascorbic acid, it might dry out the skin more or make it much more hypersensitive, while an individual who has a combination skin type, which is there in majority of the individuals, and they're getting a regular tan, using a serum in those individuals should be fine. So what I mean to say over here is basically serums that are used, like vitamin C that I mentioned, is for individuals. They can introduce it when they feel that their skin is tanned or skin is dark. Because there are so many patients who come to us who say they are okay with their skin. They don't feel that their skin is tanned. So those group of individuals, for example, don't need to use a vitamin C serum. They can use maybe a hyaluronic acid serum to maintain the moisture effect onto their skin. So serums also vary depending on the content that they have. Serum is actually a big misnomer, frankly. The reason is because when serum as a word is introduced, it feels that, a patient A to Z, everybody can use it. But ideally, serums are certain products that contain certain active materials, and they need to be used depending on the skin type, whether it is a combination, oily, dry, sensitive. It depends on those particular factors.
What I understand from this regimen, sunscreen is a must. Okay,
Yes.
because sun rays are the most important factor for triggering pigmentation. Okay,
Correct.
so you cannot like skip using a sunscreen.
Hmm.
Again, moisturizer is a very important part of your regimen, because dryness also leads to a change in the texture and inflammation. Am I right?
Yes, correct. Because what happens is whenever you have, things like, exposures to exposomes, or basically those pollution with sunscreen, many studies now have shown that the sunlight and pollution together cause a lot of damage onto the skin.
Hmm.
There is a texture change of the skin. So the moisturizer is the product that improves your texture of the skin or improves the barrier of the skin. It maintains the hydration levels in the skin. So it can withstand these harsh environments, basically. So
Yeah.
that is
So
why
basically,
moisturizer is important. Yes.
yeah. So dryness in the upper layer of skin will
Correct.
lead
Yes.
to like release of different chemicals or biochemicals, which
Correct.
further
Yes.
trigger different inflammatory process in the skin, leading
Yes.
to pigmentation and other associated things as well.
Yes.
And once your texture changes, or the level of water in the upper skin layer goes down, the way the skin reflects the light also changes, leading to again the dullness on the skin.
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Correct.
yeah,
Right.
so having a moisturizer added to your daily regimen, even though you are not suffering, even though you are suffering from pigmentation issue,
Hmm.
this is the very essential advice that we got from you. Moisturizer cannot be skipped, sunscreen cannot be skipped, and sometimes even you can skip any serum. Okay.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
correct. Yes, because what happens, this is all from personal experience. For example, the other day there was a patient who came, who had a lot of sensitive, skin, in the sense that whenever she used to use any makeup products, whenever she used to use simple, concealers onto the skin, her skin used to become very red and very irritated. She used to use toners containing glycolic acid in it. She used to use serums containing kojic acid, vitamin C in high concentrations. So I had to counsel her and tell her to go off all those particular products. Eventually, over 2 weeks' time, her skin settled down. The use of sunscreen, moisturizer, as we mentioned earlier, brought back her skin to a normalcy. Then, depending on her skin type, I recommended what the right serum would be. So, for example, a serum with hyaluronic acid perfectly suited her sensitive skin type. Similar, there was another patient who came the other day who had extreme tan onto the skin. They had just gone for a beach vacation. They came back. They were not interested much in doing any skin clinic-based treatments, but they wanted a good routine to follow. So such an individual, I would recommend a cleanser, a sunscreen, a moisturizer. And in these individuals, I would add maybe a serum containing vitamin C, which they can use for a prolonged period of time, maybe 3 months, 6 months. So it would help eventually to remove that accumulated tan onto the skin. So this is what I'm saying. Science of skin is very specific. If you use the products in the right way, if you have understood it well, or if you take advice from the experts, you can definitely create magic on your skin. So serums do work. It's not that they do not work, but yes, serums have actives in them, and depending on the skin type, you need to use that particular kind of serum.
Yeah. So with this mention of accumulated, tan, okay,
Yes.
that brings me to the part of exfoliants. Okay, so exfoliants are generally used for two purposes. One is to remove the dead skin, which is present on the upper part of the skin. At the same time, there is one like, I'll not say a notion, but there is a rationale that once this dead layer is reduced, then penetration of other serums or other actives through the skin is facilitated. Okay,
Yes.
but sometimes different harsh scrub like apricot, blah
Yeah.
blah. So many scrubbing particles are used regularly by many people, thinking that this is going to give me the real glow. This is going to help me to reduce the tan, and ultimately they end up in making the skin more sensitive.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is your advice of using it? And there are so many products in the market with 25% fruit acids, 30% fruit acid, with different types of harsh acid present as home pills. Nowadays, this concept of home pills is increasing, which is having a lot of AHA and BHA combinations. Okay. So, and the trend is increasing. Trend is increasing. A lot of influencers, are promoting such type of products. A lot of blogs are coming up, and there is buzz happening related to chemical pills at home. So what is your advice related to use of these exfoliating products or pills for home use for pigmentation?
So I think I would define them as social media hacks. Basically, these products which are there, they do contain. Ultimately, they contain acids. They contain exfoliators in them. Exfoliation is fine when done to a limited extent. Overuse of products that contain acids would eventually cause more damage onto the skin. So as I mentioned earlier, about that case with, glycolic acid toner, for example. Similarly, fruit acids, AHAs, BHAs are bound to cause excessive sensitivity of the skin. So my advice to people would be to use it in a limited format, maybe use like 2 days a week regime or something. Get an advice from the dermatologist is something that I would, definitely recommend. Limit the use to a few weeks rather than continuing it continuously for months together or years together. As we mentioned earlier, cumulative damage, that means accumulated damage, does happen of sunlight and pollution on the skin and causes an adverse effect on the skin. Similar way, products containing acids also can have their cumulative damage. In the sense, when you keep putting acids layer by layer, changing products, that means changing the acids onto the skin, will eventually cause more damage onto your skin and make it more hypersensitive, and further increase hyperpigmentation onto the skin when you're exposed again to sunlight. So it is like a vicious cycle that you get into. So what I would recommend is know your skin type, get your skin type assessed by the dermatologist. They are the experts in this. We'll be able to tell you what particular serum to use, what particular actives to use, and what frequency to use them for, because that is the safest regime that a person can follow to avoid damage onto the skin. We have people even using home-based materials, like for example, they might use besan, is a very commonly used besan massage onto the face. It's very common among our patients, and they come with extreme sensitivity of the skin. They scrub the skin to an extent where they see the dead exfoliated skin, which is blackish in color, onto their fingers. Now that causes, total debridement of the skin. And on top of that, then when their friend recommends them a particular serum from the market, like an AHA or a BHA peel, they add it to their skin. Now, this causes more and more damage to the skin.
Yeah.
So that is the reason I would strongly recommend to limit the use of these exfoliating products depending on your skin type, and limit them to a few weeks rather than continuing them for a long time.
So this is very important, because normally even these peels or acids are added to the daily routine. Okay, initially it gives glow on the
Good
skin.
results,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
and we are happy
Hmm.
and we feel that this is what is working for me, and we continue to use the same. As we keep using it,
Hmm.
the very important physical barrier of the
Yes.
skin gets removed.
Hmm.
It again gives entry to different bacteria, chemicals,
Correct.
detergents or pollutants through the skin, then further aggravating the condition. Okay.
So the trick here is basically to cut off immediately. Like you use it for a short while, use it for a week, 2 weeks, and then just let it go. Then use it
Yeah.
as maintenance, maybe once in 15 days or once in 20 days. Do
Yeah, so
not
this is a
keep
very
using.
important point, because normally this is mistaken as daily regimen
Daily routine.
product.
Because what
Yeah.
happens, people spend their money on buying that product, and the aim is to finish that bottle,
Hmm.
in a month's time.
Yeah.
But ideally, it should be used initially for an aggressive method, like maybe a week. They can use it regularly, and then reduce the frequency to maybe once a week for the next maybe 2 months. They don't need to keep buying the same product repeatedly every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks, because eventually it's going to cause a cumulative damage onto the skin.
Right. So apart from this, what are the other mistakes that patients normally commit when they see you? Uh, Ideally, and that reduces the output of the treatment that they're taking, or again, aggravates the situation that they're having.
Well, I think the most common mistake is overuse of products like what we just discussed. They also have a lot of myths, in the sense that washing the face 4 to 5 times in a day will help in clearing out the skin. Now, these are going to obviously cause more sensitivity of their skin.
Hmm.
The other mistakes which people make is, when they have an oily skin type, when they have acne, they tend to, pierce, the punch, kind of release the oil out from that acne, or release the pus out from the acne. Now that's going to cause more marks onto the skin. Then other mistakes is, people keep, scrubbing their skin with even certain brushes, certain cloths. They make use of handkerchiefs or towels, Turkish towel like materials, to scrub their skin on a daily basis, thinking that their hyperpigmentation will disappear. But all these actually in turn cause more darkness onto the skin, more pigmentation issues on the skin. And in fact, they damage the barrier of the skin, causing more dryness of the skin. So these are the common, mistakes, that people make. Apart from that, they take advice from, their friends, from people who are not experts into the field, and they keep using sometimes certain products that could even dangerously contain steroids in them. So we have so many people coming to us in our aesthetic clinic or beauty clinics, where they use steroids onto their skin for years together, for months together.
In
To
fact,
look
many
out.
untrained pharmacists or
Yes,
chemists,
yes, that
they
also can
they
be a
yeah,
problem.
over
Yes,
the counter they give the steroid cream as a
steroid creams,
recommendation.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
the other day, I had one person who was coming to me, who was not aware that the product, which had no label on it, it was just a simple box with a mixed cream, had steroids in it. And how we detected it is because she started getting large number of pimples all over the face. Uh,
Mhm.
these are called acneiform eruptions. They are tiny, sago grain like pimples which happen on every square centimeter of the skin on the area of application. So especially her face at the age of just 14 or 15 was filled with acne. So there
Oh.
are people, children as young as 14, 15, who are into these harsh skin routines. and that tends to cause more damage on the skin. So it's important to know what you're using on your skin.
Yeah, so that is the selfie culture we are into. Okay,
Correct. Right.
so right from age 12, 13, everyone wants to be filter
Yes.
free,
Yes.
or
Absolutely.
that is the situation right now. What about taking hot showers for longer period of time and swimming? Okay, because what we many times discuss that because of chlorine the skin gets tanned. So is it the case? And when we want a brighter skin, or you're all actually taking treatment for this requirement, should we avoid going to swimming?
Yeah. So this is something which is seen every summer, because every summer parents put their children for swimming. They come completely tanned. Same way many adults go into swimming pools, they get tanned and they come to us with the same problem. Here there are two issues. It is not only that the sunlight or the ultraviolet light that is causing the tanning. It is a reaction between the ultraviolet light and the chlorine that is causing the tan. One very important thing to know here is that what I believe is probably the levels of chlorine can be damaging to the skin. I have a feeling many of the swimming pools located around, there is no proper regulation in the amount of chlorine that can be, put basically the safe levels of chlorine in the skin. They might be safe in a general health point of view, but when it comes to skin safety, the level of damage that happens in terms of an irritant burn or an allergic burn onto the skin in combination with sunlight, there is a particular level of chlorine which is regulated. So that amount of chlorine may not be being used in all the pools. So that tends to cause a lot of damaging effects onto the skin. So what I feel is that whether a person is using a swimming pool in the morning hours or in the afternoon hours or even in the evening hours, I have seen almost the same level of tan. So what I have concluded from all this over many patients is that I think it is the chlorine that tends to cause a lot of damage onto the skin, and you need to keep hydrating the skin very well, apart from using a good sunscreens. And there are many swimming pools that do not allow the use of sunscreens also. When we see here in Mumbai and other places, there are many swimming pools where the authorities don't allow people to use sunscreen before they get into the pool. So it is a very difficult situation. No doubt, one should be hydrating the skin very well after every swimming exposure. You also mentioned about hot showers. Hot showers definitely tend to cause a lot of dryness of the skin, because they tend to cause more damage to the barrier function of the skin. So they increase the sensitivity.
Okay, so outdoor swimming pools where the sunlight directly falls in the water, which is chlorinated, should be avoided, or it is better to avoid if you are
It is
taking
better to
sunscreen.
avoid, yes, especially because if you are a person who is very much concerned about their tan, it will definitely cause a tan. And there's no way to prevent that, because we don't have, as individual, maybe members of a particular swimming club, any ways to check the levels of chlorine. And this is a very, very big problem which I see happening in majority of the people, because there is no way to check the amount of chlorine the particular staff might be putting into that water and what level of damage it may be causing on the skin. So I have a large number of people here in Mumbai, patients who have left swimming altogether, because of this problem, because they're just not able to control the tan on their skin, and the level of tan for it to go away takes much more longer time. Initially, we see people who don't have much tan, and then they join swimming year to year. The tan is taking maybe 1 year to go away. It's not going away as maybe what was there probably a year. So I don't know what the problem is, whether it cannot just be the ultraviolet light. It has to be a chemical reaction between the chlorine and the ultraviolet light. And it's a,
So when ultraviolet light falls, in on the chlorinated water, it leads to a chemical reaction, and some trichloronitromethanes are formed, which
right.
stay in the water for a very long time, and basically
Right.
they irritate the skin.
Yes.
Another point that I think is chlorine itself is having antibacterial properties. Okay, and that will again react onto the friendly bacteria of our skin, and the bacterial flora on the skin, it changes. Okay, again, this bacterial flora is very helpful to maintain the healthy skin barrier, and with continuous exposure to chlorinated water, it may make the change to happen in the bacterial flora as well. So these might be the two like points that make swimming should be avoided.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is basically a very tough situation because to remove this tan post the swimming is becoming quite a challenge. And what I also realize is that people who swim in places, for example, like maybe even maybe a classy hotel, for example, hotel swimming pool,
Yeah, yeah.
somehow their tanning is not happening much. While the people who are coming to us who are swimming in
But it is indoor. You are talking about indoor swimming pools.
indoor or outdoor, ideally it is even most of the pools here are outdoor pools, so when they come to swim from the public swimming pools, I don't know the regulation associated with the amount of chlorine
Oh, yes.
they might be adding and causing excessive damage onto the skin. So it's a very difficult question to answer, but I feel that yes, it does tend to cause prolonged tanning onto the skin. And the only method I have seen, that can avoid this is if you swim maybe just as less frequently as possible,
Okay.
because if you swim on a daily basis in such swimming pools, your tan is just not going to go away for a very, very long time. So I'm
Okay.
seeing that very increasingly in my practice and finding that quite a challenge to tell patients not to, swim or maybe to swim less frequently because ultimately it's a mode of an exercise.
Yeah. So avoiding swimming as much as possible. At the same time, reducing the like exposure to the hot showers and
Yes,
using cold showers or lukewarm water, or
correct.
reducing the time
Yes,
for which you take the shower. They are two important things that you should follow if you
important.
want a brighter or even skin tone. That is, otherwise it will reduce the effect of the treatment that you are taking.
Correct.
What about supplements? Do supplements help in this particular case, like glutathione?
Yeah, of course. Supplements like glutathione, beta carotene, vitamin C, these supplements go a long way in rejuvenating your skin. Because ultimately damage to skin as a consequence of sunlight and pollution is happening through oxidants. There are free radicals or oxidants that are tending to cause a damage to the skin. So these are powerful antioxidants, where they remove the free radicals out. So
Hmm.
free radicals are certain byproducts that tend to cause damage to the skin. They dehydrate the skin. They cause pigment to leak into the skin, causing hyperpigmentation. So antioxidants work in giving that protective film to your, skin, and also work in absorbing that pigment out. So they do work well in both prevention as well as treatment of hyperpigmentation. So supplements are very important, but of course, you need to take them again in a limited format for maybe around 3 months. Then you keep a gap or break for around maybe another 2, 3 months. Then you can retake them again. And of course, consult the dermatologist once in at least 6 months to know that the supplement is right for you or not.
Yeah. Okay. Now we discuss about different topical products as well as supplements. But what about procedures? So, what different kind of procedures in clinic procedure available with dermatologists if the patient wants to get detanned or treat the pigmentation issues?
Yeah,
Let's
so,
start.
so this is very important. There are treatments that range from chemical peels, the chemical peels to lasers, to even microderma abrasions or micro needling. These are the different kinds of treatments that can be done in the clinic. They can be done once in a month, once in 6 weeks, to once in even 2 months' time, and they basically help overall in regulating the skin. They
Hmm.
help in detanning the skin. They give faster results. They also help in improving the barrier function of the skin, which might be damaged due to an accumulated effect of sun and pollution. So they help in reversing the signs of aging, reversing hyperpigmentation issues, and there are certain lasers that even help in treating hypopigmentation. That is a pigmentation which is lesser than the normal skin type, where it becomes pale. There are treatments which help in reversing that as well. So there is a wide range of treatments at the clinic, and they are very safe when done by trained dermatologists. We normally have experience, so with that we are able to even reverse certain small side effects if they at all happen. So it's very important to get the treatments done by trained dermatologists for the same.
Yeah. So if we combine the different procedures with the topical or with the supplements, the result will be multifold.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It enhances the effectivity of the products as well.
Super. So now you mentioned, most of the patients or most people who tend to spend a lot of time under the sun because of their job. Okay, many a times. Uh, they because of they tend to get a pigmentation and alterations in the skin texture and skin thickness. And our lives are very busy. You start a day at by catching a train at 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. and again go back home around 9:30 or 9 maybe. Uh, Now we discuss about a daily regime which consists of cleanser, moisturizer, toner, then some sunscreens, some serum. सुबह में use करो, रात में use करो. So for a general person who is extremely busy because of his daily course, it is very difficult to follow all these instructions. So what would be your pro tip to create a regimen which will help you to improve your skin texture and pigmentation without changing the daily routine much, and you will be able to easily carry that forward.
Right. So that is exactly, one of the reasons, that I mentioned a very simple routine for regular skincare. That is, just cleansing, then, you use the sunscreen and the moisturizers, because this is something that can fit in everybody's routine. That is, if a person is short of time because of the very busy routine, as you mentioned, they might probably wake up very early morning and leave for their work. So cleansing the face, during an early morning bath, followed by a sunscreen application immediately, is something that is can easily be accomplished. And a moisturizer can be used at night after they come back. So this is one of the reasons that I had mentioned only these three, because people are in different routines. The kind of routine that a person is might affect the use of products. They might stop using certain products because they just don't get time to use multiple products in their routine. So restricting the products depending on the need is very important. So if a person has dry skin type, should just focus on cleansing and moisturizer and the sunscreen, of course, in the morning. So these are the ways in which they can basically, incorporate in the routine. While an individual who has a little more time on hand, those are the individuals where use of serums, use of, other products, which can be a little more effective in terms of treating problem specific issues. They are the ones that they can spend more time in the routine. But a basic skin routine consisting of a cleanser, sunscreen, moisturizer, a toner if required, can easily fit into anybody's routine, however short of time they might be in.
Yeah, super. So we are already at 11:30. There are many questions coming in, but already we are in discussion for almost for an hour. Okay,
Yes.
so I think that rather than extending the session, we'll try to answer all these questions offline to everyone. And even I thank you for the time that you gave it to us.